So I think the biggest fear most first-time home buyers have is trying to figure out whether or not they even qualify to buy a home in the first place. And that entire process really starts with getting pre-approved for a mortgage. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the best tips and strategies that you need to help you get pre-approved so that you can buy your first home this year. Now let's get into it. So there's really three main pillars when it comes to getting pre-approved, and this is what lenders are looking for. So number one, when it comes to your credit score, really the minimum credit score that you need is a 620. Now you will see a lot of places advertise that you can go below a 620, you can go to a 500, you can go to a 580 score, but what they don't tell you is, one, you're gonna get killed on the rate and the fees, and two, a lot of times you need a lot higher down payment to get approved at that point. So really that next benchmark is going to be a 620. Now your credit score really impacts the interest rate that you get, so the higher your credit score is, the better interest rate that you'll get. And number two, you have income. Now income, it's one of the most important parts in a pre-approval, and you really need a 2-year work history. Now you don't have to be in the same job or even the same line of field for the last 2 years, just as long as you have had a job for the last 2 years. And really your income determines how much buying power or how much you're going to get pre-approved for. And income is really the main difference between someone that gets pre-approved for $1 million house versus someone that gets pre-approved for a $100,000 house. Then number three, you need to have some savings saved up. And this is going to be for your down payment and for your closing cost. Now, you can get grants and down payment assistant programs to help you out with savings, but you do need to have a little bit saved up. That's what the banks want to see. And here's some of the income requirements. So lenders really look at your gross income in order to qualify you. So they're looking at your income that's before taxes are taken out or your pre-taxed income. And if you have a co-signer or a co-borrower, someone that applies with you, the more income that you bring with your household income, the more that you're going to get qualified for. And also, again, when it comes to your job history, you really need to have a 2-year work history. Again, it doesn't have to be in the same job or the same line of field in most cases, just as long as you have had a job for the last 2 years, that's what they're looking at. Now, there are some instances where they can make some exceptions to this rule. And here are different income types broken down and what all you need for each income type. So with salary, it's very simple. They just use your base salary amount. If you are hourly, and let's say you work variable hours, 1 week you work 32 hours, 1 week you work 36 hours, they are going to pay attention to your year-to-date average. So a lot of times people think, well, I'm gonna wait to submit a pay stub because I worked a lot of hours this particular pay period. Well, they're going to take that into consideration, but again, they're going to be paying attention to your overall year-to-date to take an average of it. Now, if you receive any bonus or overtime income, what they do is you must receive this type of income for the last 2 years, and they're going to take an average of the last 24 months, average that out, and that's how they're going to give you qualifying income for that type. Now, when it comes to commission, you need a 2-year work history in being a commission job field. And what they're going to do is they're going to take the average of the last 2 years or the last 24 months of your commission income and average it out. Now, when it comes to 1099, and if you're a business owner, what they're going to do is they're going to look at your last 2 years of filed tax returns, and they're going to look at your overall income. Then they're going to minus any write-offs and expenses that you're showing on that tax return, and that's going to give you their taxable income. Now, when it comes to a job offer letter, this can be used if you're relocating, or let's say you're just getting another job. This is an option, and what they're going to use is that income that's on the job offer letter to qualify you. Now that income, it must either be a salary or an hourly amount that you're guaranteed 40 hours a week. It must be signed by the employer, and the start date cannot be longer than 60 days. So you must start within a 60-day period after closing. And two, there cannot be many contingencies. There cannot be like background checks that you have to go through and clear, or any drug tests, things like that. But that is an option, especially if you're relocating. When it comes to credit score, if you're within a 580 to 620, it's not impossible to get pre-approved, but most likely you're going to need a lot larger down payment, anywhere from 10 to 20%. And again, you're going to get killed on the rate and the fees. So a lot of times, if you're able to tweak your credit score to get it over that 620 amount, you're going to save a lot more in the long run. Now, if you have a 620 to a 690, then probably a government loan is going to be the cheapest for you when it comes to interest rate and fees. So FHA, VA, or USDA. Now keep in mind, USDA loans, you have to have at least a 645 plus to get approved. And when it comes to a 700 plus credit score, then this is really where you'll want to look into more conventional loan types, because long-term, conventional gets cheaper as you pay down the loan. And when it comes to your debt to income ratio, this is the formulas that lenders use to determine how much you're pre-approved for. And what DTI measures is just it compares how much of your monthly income is going toward your monthly debt. So they just divide, the formula is divided your monthly debt divided by your monthly gross income. And here's some of the mortgage DTI limits that you can't surpass. Most banks will allow you to go to 45 to 50% of your monthly income going towards your monthly debt. So let's say that your gross amount of monthly income is about $6,000 a month. That means that your debt cannot exceed $3,000 a month. And this has to include the future mortgage payment as well. And the reason, again, why this matters is it determines how much your buying power is. It determines all of the limits of your pre-approval amount. And here's what the banks consider as monthly debt. So they're going to take into consideration your car payment. They're going to look at your student loan payments. They'll look at any of your credit card payments that you have, any IRS payments, child support, alimony, and also they take into consider the future mortgage payment as well. And here's what's not included. They don't include your current rent, your groceries, cell phone bills, any insurance. That includes car insurance as well, and also gas and utilities. Now, student loans are not a deal breaker, and you can still qualify with your student loan debt because really the guidelines are a lot more flexible today than they were in the past. Now, if your student loans are deferred, lenders are not going to use a 0 monthly payment, even though you're not paying anything towards them. They're still going to count a small percentage towards your debt to income ratio. Now, if your student loans are in default, this is an issue, and you won't be able to get approved for a government loan, FHA, VA, or USDA loan until those student loans are out of default. The only type of loan that you'll be able to get approved for is a conventional. And here's how much money that you'll need to have saved up. So there's really two types of costs. You have your down payment and you have your closing costs. Now, when it comes to down payment, it really depends on the type of loan program that you go with. If you are if you're doing an FHA loan, minimum down payment is 3.5%. If you're doing a USDA loan, 0%, there's no down payment required. If you're doing a VA loan, which is only for military or veterans, again, 0% for the down payment. If you're doing a conventional loan, you're a first-time home buyer, 3% is the minimum. If you're not a first-time home buyer, then it's 5% buying your primary residence. And when it comes to closing costs, it can be arranged. There's a lot that closing costs covers. It covers title fees, it covers government fees, it's paying your insurance and your taxes in advance. That can be anywhere from about 2 to 4% of the home price. But a good strategy that a lot of my clients are taking advantage of right now is they are asking the seller to cover their closing costs. So they're only having to come up with the down payment, or even better, they're able to get a grant or a program to help cover that down payment as well. And when it comes to down payment, here are some acceptable sources that banks will allow. So number one, you can get a grant or do a down payment assistance programs. And what they do is they're going to give you money to cover the required down payment. Now, it's either normally coupled with an FHA loan or a conventional loan. And there's really two major types. You have one type that's an actual true forgivable grant. You don't have to pay it back. Or some of them are more like deferred loans that you either have to pay back if you ever sell or refinance, or you're making a small monthly payment along with your mortgage payment to pay that back. So that's really where you need to understand all the stipulations when you take out a grant or do one of these programs. Now, some other acceptable sources, you can get a gift from a family member. You can take out from your 401k, from your IRA 1k. You can sell any of your assets like a car or whatever the case, motorcycle, whatever the case may be, as long as you are able to source those funds. The main thing is they don't want to see that the down payment is coming from cash that you have, or it's coming from a loan, like a personal loan that you got. And here are some of the documents that they'll need in order to pre-approve you. So if you're a W-2 employee, then they're going to need your last 30 days of pay stubs. They're going to need your W-2s for the last 2 years. And they're going to need your bank statements, last 2 months, and your driver's license. Now, if you're a 1099 or you're a business owner, then they're going to need your last 2 years of tax returns. They're going to need last 2 months of bank statements and your driver's license as well. And here's the difference between a mortgage lender, broker, and a bank. So if you're a mortgage lender, they work for only one company. So you're stuck with whatever rate, fees, and programs that they're offering. And if you get denied, then you have to start all the way over somewhere else. Now, this is places like CrossCountry, this is places like Rocket Mortgage, and I used to work for a mortgage lender, so that's how I know. Now, a mortgage broker is not tied to one single bank. So they're able to shop the rate with only one credit pull and one application. And if you get denied, let's say for some reason at one bank, they can easily move all of your paperwork to another bank very easily. And this is what I am. And then you have a bank, which a bank offers more services, not just mortgages. So because mortgage isn't really their bread and butter, you're going to get normally a lot higher rates. And also you have to have almost a cookie cutter 800 plus credit score in order for them to take your loan. Again, if you get denied, then you have to start all over someplace else. And here's the overall timeline of when you'll want to get pre-approved. So if you're about 6 months out, you want to talk to a lender and have a conversation with them. This point is just to see if there's anything that you need to work on before you actually start the pre-approval process. Then when you're about 3 to 4 months out, this is when you're going to want to start the actual pre-approval process. And that process takes anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to complete. And if you're planning to buy a house and want to know how much buying power you have, click on the link in the description, schedule a call, and I'll be in touch.